Before we get started, I have a quick favor. I've been self-funding the Finding Genius podcast for 5 years now. I've done over 3,000 episodes. And as you can see on YouTube, we're up over 1 million views on the channel, which is fantastic. The next thing I really want to push on is to get up to 10,000 subscribers. Because once we do, we'll be able to put a donate button and we'll be able to solicit donations to help keep the podcast running and to also get the Finding Genius Foundation moving along. We have a big project studying anxiety, depression, and PTSD and working on a product to help people overcome these problems because I've seen them explode recently after the last 2 years of the whole virus situation. So if you would, please subscribe to the podcast. That would help us tremendously. Give us a thumbs up and check in the description for Buy Me a Coffee. It's about $5. If you could buy me a coffee, I'd really appreciate it. It would help keep the channel going, and I love coffee. Thank you. Did you know that amino acids are known as the building blocks of life? And getting the optimal ratio of amino acids in your diet is critical to staying healthy and maximizing your peak performance? I know firsthand how critical it is to stay healthy. Therefore, I've been on the lookout for quite some time for something that's 100% science-backed that can enhance and extend my peak athletic performance. That's why I'm so happy I recently discovered Perform from the Amino Company. Perform is a patented blend of essential amino acids that works to improve strength, focus, and endurance for peak athletic performance. Perform is scientifically proven to help revolutionize your workouts. Perform is an easy-to-use powder that you can mix in your water bottle for a delicious drink that keeps you operating at peak performance. Just drink it before and during your workouts for best results. You can check out their science by visiting aminoco.com/genius. Don't forget, once you're there, use coupon code GENIUS for 30% off at checkout. The website is aminoco.com/genius. Then use the code GENIUS.
Forget frequently asked questions,
common sense, common knowledge, or Google.
How about advice from a real genius? 95% of people in any profession are good enough to be qualified and licensed. 5%
go above and beyond.
They become very good at what they do, but only
0.1%
are real geniuses. Richard Jacobs has made it his life's mission to find them for you. He hunts down and interviews geniuses in every field: sleep science, cancer, stem cells, ketogenic diets, and more. Here come the geniuses. This is the Finding Genius Podcast
with Richard Jacobs.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Finding Genius Podcast, now part of the Finding Genius Foundation. I have Dr. Robert Wolfe. He's the co-founder of the Amino Company. So we're going to talk about essential amino acids that affect aging and longevity. So, Robert, thanks for coming.
Oh, I'm glad to have the chance to talk with you.
Yeah, if you would, tell me a bit about your background. How did you come to co-found this company? And then I want to talk about what the Amino Company does.
Sure. Well, very briefly, I grew up mostly interested in sports. I was a basketball player and played at Cal Berkeley and I was drafted by the Warriors, but rather than continue that, I went to graduate school because I wanted to be a researcher. And long story short, ended up at Harvard Medical School after graduating and working at the Shriners Hospital for severely burned children. And in that context was struck by the fact that not only was the acute burn a major problem for these young kids, and these are children that were burned maybe 70 or 80% of their third degree burns, but also recovery. And that, as well as my longstanding interest in athletics, led me to start exploring the reasons why we lose muscle in various circumstances, such as severe injury, aging, and other circumstances, and how to slow that process or even reverse the process. So my background specifically was that I worked for about 10 years at Harvard Medical School and then went to be the head of the metabolism unit at the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas. And then I guess as a sort of a personal interest grew more and more in the response in aging as I got older myself, that I moved to the University of Arkansas, which has the largest geriatric clinic in the United States. And over the past 10 or 15 years, have been working in that context, trying to develop approaches to reduce and even reverse the loss of muscle mass and function that occurs with aging.
Okay. Well, very cool. How did this lead to the creation of the Amino Company?
Well, I worked for 30 years with the Shriners Burns Institute, both at Harvard Medical School and then at University of Texas. And the Shriners are a tremendous philanthropy, but and in fact, in all of the patients that are admitted to the hospital, the Shriners pay for all aspects of the care. And one of their aspects of philanthropy was that they never allowed any patents to be submitted because they felt it should just be open to any new research should just be open to the public. And over the years, I gradually became frustrated by the fact that we made these huge advances in burn care in a variety of ways, including metabolism and nutrition. But whenever I would give a talk and then even around the world, people would want to know, well, where can we get these products? The fact was that without any patents, that no company would produce them in a way that they could be distributed. So that really led me to move to the University of Arkansas Medical School, which really, in contrast to that policy, really had a program to help develop research projects and translate them to actual products, because I'd come to realize that all the publications and interesting talks and so forth were really just ivory tower stuff until it translated to something that people could put on their kitchen table and actually consume and have them directly benefit. And that was really, the transition that led me to maintain my interest and continue working on developing new approaches to treat serious conditions, but in the context of ultimately resulting in the production of products that could actually be consumed and would be available to the general public to benefit from all this research that's been done over the past 30 or 40 years.
Okay, well, what's the premise of the Amino Company? What do you guys make and do?
The Amino Company is founded to develop and market products based on essential amino acids. And we'll maybe give a chance to get in a little bit to exactly what the essential amino acids are. But my research over many years resulted in the establishment and granting of 15 different patents on different formulations that specifically address metabolic problems, and that these different approaches have a varying degree of clinical support. And as they reached a level of clinical trials that irrefutably showed the benefit in specific circumstances, it led to the establishing a specific product. And in that context, the Amino Company was formed in order to not only sponsor the research, as well as, I should mention that most of this research was sponsored by the National Institutes of Health by peer-reviewed grants, but through the Amino Company. And then the Amino Company translated these results into actual products that could be marketed in a way that people and the general public could benefit from them.
Okay, so what do the products look like today? If I call or go to the website and I order, what am I ordering? What do I do with it? How does it work?
Well, there are 4 products currently offered. One is called Life, one is called Perform, one is called Heal, and one is called Cleanse. And they all are supported by, are based on unique patents for the formulation. And these products, the Life product was the first one that I developed in the context of improving functionality with aging. One of the most important aspects of decrease in quality of life as we get older is a decline in physical function and capability. And these things can be mitigated to some extent by exercise program, especially including weightlifting. But the reality is, as people get older, they don't really do this much. And so the goal was to develop a product which would support and even improve muscle function and even muscle mass in older individuals, apart from any interaction with exercise. And in fact, we did establish this with a large clinical trial in older individuals, of healthy elderly individuals, as well as a large group of over 100 elderly individuals with heart failure, showing that consuming this Life formulation twice a day actually significantly improved in almost every single person the ability to perform activities of daily living, as well as muscle strength and other aspects of function. So that was kind of the start of it. And then I moved more into the exercise realm, and particularly with the product Perform, which is designed to promote focus and muscle strength and function throughout exercise. And this is predicated on two aspects of principles of the way the amino acids work. One is that the amino acids maintain the muscle mass and function through promoting the synthesis of new, highly functional muscle fibers and including improving muscle quality. But the other aspect, which is unique among, of this perform, is that the brain operates under the influence of neurotransmitters, and the main ones that we deal with in terms of our daily activities of being awake and alert and focused versus sleepy and ready to go to sleep are dopamine and serotonin. Serotonin being the one that makes you feel tired and sleepy, dopamine being the reverse that makes you kind of jacked up and alert and ready to go. And what happens in exercise is that as the exercise proceeds, the amino acids that are the precursors or the building blocks that are needed to form these neurotransmitters become altered such that the production of serotonin becomes predominant, and along with that, the perception of fatigue, which may not directly relate to you actually being tired. So that the formulation in the perform is designed to actually counteract that response and to promote the prevalence of dopamine relative to serotonin, so that the exercise, even as you are actually physically fatiguing, that you are able to maintain mental focus and the perception that you're really doing fine. HEAL is a product which originally stemmed out of the goal of improving recovery from major trauma such as surgery and serious disease. It's designed specifically to rebuild muscle mass and function after loss through incapacitation and trauma such as surgery. We've also found that exercise actually is kind of like a major trauma, to a lesser extent, of course, but that with a real heavy workout, particularly weightlifting, that there's tissue damage following every kind of serious workout, and that the HEAL product is not only good for recovery from major trauma such as surgery or serious disease, but that it is very helpful in terms of restoring functional muscle following serious exercise. So that the ideal approach for exercise as it's evolved is to have a perform taken before exercise and the HEAL following exercise to improve damaged tissues. The final product is based on the clinical issue, which has become much more prevalent in the last 10 years or so, and that is an excess deposition of fat in the liver. And this has become recognized as a major metabolic problem, and we have developed a patented approach with naturally occurring amino acids to significantly reduce the fat infiltration of the liver, whether it's resulting from excessive alcohol intake or metabolic problems such as polycystic ovary syndrome or other metabolic problems that cause a deposition of fat in the liver, or the most common cause, which is obesity, and that as we get extra body weight in a large percentage of people that are overweight, there's an accumulation of fat in the liver that really has significant impairment in different aspects of liver function. And these functions of liver are significantly improved by consumption of the cleanse products. So those are the four products that we have currently on the market. We have other research projects that have been funded by the National Institute of Health that we're developing, but we only translate these research projects to products and once we have irrefutable clinical data supporting the validity of them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So your supplement is what? Is it amino acids in like a powder form that you put into a drink or add as a product?
Yeah, these are all in the form of powder, and they're based on the essential amino acids, which are the amino acids that we require on a daily basis. And there's actually nutritional requirements for every essential amino acid. There are 9 essential amino acids that are in body protein that we need to consume on a daily basis or have serious health consequences. And we're providing these in a unique format dependent on the exact metabolic alteration that we're targeting. So that in all cases, though, they're pure essential amino acid formulations that are dissolved in water and contain no other calories in terms of carbohydrates or fat. So it's a very low-calorie targeted approach to promoting the metabolic response that we're targeting without, the excess calories that have come along with changing your diet, so that they can be taken as pure supplements. I think the thing that's the most important to really clarify here is that our daily requirement for eating dietary proteins that contain essential amino acids is about 40 grams of essential amino acids per day through our dietary intake of protein. And what this means is that if you don't eat that much protein containing those essential amino acids, you'll start to have actual symptoms of deficiency of those amino acids. And so what we're doing with these essential amino acid supplements is taking these naturally occurring essential amino acids that are dietary requirements and formulating them into an optimal mixture, which will not only have their own effect, but actually optimize or activate to a greater extent the amino acids that are absorbed from the diet as well. The important distinction here is that we're not just talking about mixing up a chemical, some sort of artificial chemical on the benchtop. These are required nutrients, and the only thing that we're doing that's distinct from eating dietary protein in the form of meat or fish or peanuts or whatever your form of consumption of dietary protein is, that we're formulating the profile of the amino acids in a format that is highly usable by the various tissues, particularly muscle in the case of life, and that we have changed the proportions of amino acids depending on the target or the metabolic target that we're trying to address.
I know how important amino acids are for optimal health and athletic performance. I've been on the lookout for something that can help boost athletic performance during my workouts. Further, something that tastes great and is easy to incorporate into my daily routine. Then I found the Amino Company, which offers 100% science-backed amino acid formulas. I tried their workout formula Perform, which has been scientifically proven to improve muscle performance during exercise, reduce fatigue and recovery times, and increase the gains from workouts. It's keto-friendly, soy-free, vegan, gluten-free, and without any nasty GMOs. Thankfully, I found a formula that has clean ingredients and is great for your everyday routine to help give your body the fuel it needs to perform at its best and recover faster and stronger from workouts. Perform is formulated to minimize muscle breakdown during exercise and maximize muscle growth after exercise. You can check out their science by visiting aminoco.com/genius. In a clinical trial, muscle protein synthesis from exercise more than tripled by using Perform as compared to whey protein. Amino Company's Perform was created by former Harvard professor and world-renowned clinical researcher Dr. Robert Wolfe. As a competitive athlete, Dr. Wolfe has completed an unbelievable 62 marathons in under 2 hours and 30 minutes, set national age group records, and is still running and fueling his body with Perform at age 75. If you're looking for a nutritional advantage when it comes to boosting your peak athletic performance, I recommend you give Perform a try. It's 3 times more effective on a gram-for-gram basis than any protein source. Again, right now you can get 30% off by using code GENIUS at checkout when you visit aminoco.com/genius.
So the typical person, as they go throughout their day, do amino acids just simply get depleted in unison and in a uniform way, or because of people's biochemistry and their environment and what they eat, they tend to deplete one or another more?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and it depends on the circumstance. So what happens is that all of the proteins in the body, and there are maybe 3,000 or more proteins in the body, are in a continual state of breakdown and resynthesis. And when they're broken down, those amino acids, the components of the protein in the body, are reutilized for new protein production to some extent, but some are also metabolized and excreted by the kidneys in the form of urea and ammonia and lost. And it's those amino acids that are metabolized that we have to replace with the dietary intake. So that process is the general format of why we have to eat essential amino acids and why supplements are beneficial. What we've found is that different clinical conditions result in a different rate or a different rate of metabolism of the individual amino acids, so that in some circumstances you need more of one particular amino acid versus the other to maintain the balance in the blood. And that's a fundamental principle that we've based the formulation of the different products on, is the unique pattern of amino acid metabolism that results in different clinical and athletic situations.
Well, what is the, what if I'm depleted in one amino acid and I take the powder and it gives me, I don't know, like my daily amount of like 19 different amino acids? What will happen to the quote-unquote excess that I have in my body for a period of time when I ingest this? Does it cause any harm, or what does my body do?
Yeah. The concept that's important to understand in relation to your question is the rate-limiting amino acid. To make new protein, you need all of the component amino acids, the 9 essential amino acids and the 11 non-essential amino acids. The 11 non-essential amino acids can be produced in the body, so they're not really required in any significant quantity to be eaten, but the 9 essential amino acids can't be produced in the body, and that's why we have to eat them. It's quite common, actually, that you will be deficient in one particular amino acid because all of the dietary proteins have different profiles of essential amino acids, and so that some are particularly deficient in one or another amino acid. For example, plant-based proteins tend to be very deficient in relative to requirement of certain individual amino acids, such as lysine, one of the essential amino acids. So by taking a formulation, the general idea is to balance all of the plasma amino acid concentrations so that they're available in the proper proportion. Now, of course, depending on the different metabolic state, when you get different rates of metabolism of one essential amino acid relative to the other, that changes the optimal profile. And that's really the basic reason why we have different formulations targeting specific metabolic states in a general sense, because for example, the problems that cause loss of muscle mass in the elderly are different than what the goal of maintaining mental focus and muscle function throughout strenuous exercise are. So that's why we need, because of those differences in the metabolism of the individual essential amino acids, that's why we have to have different formulations to target these different conditions.
Have you experimented with taking them in the morning or the evening, or with a meal, without a meal, et cetera? Like what works best and why?
Yeah, it seems that they work about the same regardless of when you take them. The exercise performed, we have done quite a bit of work there, and taking it a half an hour to an hour before exercise will be the optimal time so that the peak levels coincide with when you're doing the exercise. When you take the aminos with a meal, they have the function of really activating the whole process of the response to dietary protein. They're absorbed, the 3 amino acids in these formulations are absorbed directly so that they reach peak values much quicker than the absorbed amino acids from digested protein. What happens is that these rapidly absorbed amino acid supplements raise the concentrations in the blood to a level that activate the whole process of protein synthesis throughout the body. As a result, as that occurs, the digested protein gradually starts feeding more amino acids into the blood. The muscle is already primed up and ready to go as far as producing more protein so that it can better utilize the dietary protein. So in that sense, we can benefit from taking the amino acids with the meal. Between meals, though, is also an important aspect because tissues are still requiring the availability of new essential amino acids to produce more protein, but there is none coming in from the meal. And as a result, what happens is the muscle is the main reservoir of the amino acids. So the muscle breaks down and provides amino acids via the blood for all the other tissues and organs that have to keep producing new proteins. And when you take a dietary supplement of the essentials during that time period, we reverse that process so that the muscle doesn't have to keep breaking down to provide precursors for protein synthesis in other tissues, but rather we can switch that demand to the dietary essentials that we're consuming through the supplement, and that enables the muscle to not be breaking down and losing mass as the time between meals proceeds. So the bottom line is whatever is convenient. There's a benefit, a slightly different rationale for whether you do it with the meal or without a meal, but at the same time, you get over the 24 hours, you're going to get about the same benefit regardless of which way you consume the product.
Okay. Do people experience something different the first time they take it versus, taking it for a month?
Well, I think the formulation in Perform will make you feel alert and, probably a little bit like having a cup of coffee or something, and you'll notice an effect right away. The other products require at least a month to really start feeling the effects because, we're targeting proteins that are produced at a relatively slow rate relative to, a daily routine. For example, in the muscle, about 2% of the muscle mass per day is broken down and resynthesized. So as we improve that process, it's still at a slow rate, so that it takes about a month before you start really feeling the effects. So that as you and I sit here, we really have no idea how fast our muscle protein is being produced. It's not something that gives us a direct feedback, but at the same time, after about a month of taking it, you'll start noticing real effects of changes in the functional capacity of muscle.
Okay. Are there any other additions to the product that you're testing that you think will make it even more beneficial?
Well, we have some products in the works, but the fundamental basis of our philosophy and what has been shown to be quite successful is sticking to different formulations of the essential amino acids, because these are, as I said, they're naturally occurring. They're normal dietary requirements. It's well established that there's no adverse effects of consuming far more than what are contained in these dietary supplement doses, so that we're not really having a major focus on additional components. So I think that in the one case with the exercise, we are replacing some of the creatine that is lost, and that's another amino acid that's in the body that plays a role in the energy metabolism of short-term things like lifting weights. But for the most part, we're relying on just the natural occurring essential amino acids that are dietary requirements and known to be totally safe to take, but yet unique in the context of the formulation and the speed of absorption, so that they perform a process that they perform a function that's really above and beyond what you can get no matter how much dietary protein you eat.
Does this reduce the protein requirements for people if they supplement with this pretty frequently?
Well, theoretically, that would be the case. I highly advocate not changing or reducing the dietary protein intake and maintaining that part of an optimal nutritional approach is eating a high-quality protein-based diet. But that being said, that doesn't always pan out. One of the most common circumstances that can be hard to maintain all the essential amino acid requirements is to eat a vegan diet, because the plant-based proteins have fewer essential amino acids per gram of protein, and also tend to be deficient in one or two specific amino acids. And so in that case, we can definitely flush out the overall amino acid balance, so that what might otherwise be an inadequate amount of dietary protein is really supported with the additional amino acid intake. I think that you could, and another circumstance where we see it very commonly is in younger kids that are in college or even high school that aren't getting optimal nutrition, and so that we can improve nutrition by specifically, adding to what they're eating with this dietary supplement that really smooths out all the dietary intake requirements of all the essential amino acids. So I don't advocating reducing the protein intake from the diet. These amino acids provide a function which are above and beyond anything you would get from your dietary protein. I think that if for one reason or another, whether it be the nature of the diet you're eating or whether you just don't have time to eat an adequate diet or access to that type of protein, then the answer is, yeah, it does reduce the need for dietary protein to maintain a balance. But just to be clear, I'm not advocating reducing protein intake, and that's not necessary to get the effect of the essential amino acid supplements.
I've heard of branched chain amino acids, and I've heard good and bad about them. How do these compare? Are they totally different in function, use,
The branched chain amino acids are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. There are three of the non-essential amino acids, and they've gotten a lot of attention because in addition to being just needed to build as components of their building blocks of new proteins that are produced, the branched chain amino acids have, and particularly leucine, have roles as regulators of metabolism as well. And the thought was that if we just provide a condensed version of all the essential amino acids, namely just the branched chain amino acids, that we would be able to stimulate protein synthesis with a very targeted amount of dietary supplement intake. The problem with that, though, is that you can't make something out of nothing. You have to have all of the essential amino acids available to create a new muscle protein. And when you provide just the three branched chain amino acids, you might get a little transient effect, but the problem is you immediately are limited by the availability of the other essential amino acids that you need to produce a complete profile of amino acids. So that the branched chain amino acids are important, and they are important to a varying degree. They're part of the essential amino acid requirement, and in some circumstances, there's an accelerated metabolism of these branched chain amino acids, meaning that you need proportionally more than you might think just from dietary intake. They constitute a significant proportion of the products in the Amino Company repertoire because of the fact that the branched chain amino acids are the most abundant amino acids in the protein in the body. So they're not different. It's just that the branched chain amino acids are required, but without the other essential amino acids along with them, they'll be very limited in their effectiveness. And that's what's actually turned out to be the case, that people have found that the reality is over time that they don't have the kind of stimulatory effect on the production of new, better functioning muscle protein as compared to a full balanced mixture of essential amino acids.
Okay. Well, very good. Where can people go to check out the product and to order them?
I think the main availability is on the website, which is called AminoCo, AMINOCO. And not only are there the possibility to order there, but there's quite an extensive amount of information about the research that's gone into developing these products, the actual research results, as well as other health-related and diet-related articles. So that I would recommend going to that website and taking a look at all of the information on each of the product to decide which is the most appropriate one.
Okay. Well, very good. For listeners of this podcast, do you have any promo codes?
That's not really my area. I'm the scientific officer, so I can't really, that may well be the case, but I think we'd have to get that from the company. I don't have any information on that.
Well, no problem. Editors will take that part out since there's no promo code just yet. But
yeah, okay. Well, you could check with Jesse, who I think lined this up. He would be the one that would handle that.
No problem. Well, Bob, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking about the essential amino acids. I didn't know much about them, and I think listeners may get benefit. So I appreciate you coming.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, before you go, if you're looking for a nutritional advantage, be sure to check out AminoCo's 100% science-backed perform formula. It was created by former Harvard professor and world-renowned clinical researcher, Dr. Robert Wolfe. As a competitive athlete, Dr. Wolfe has completed 62 marathons in under 2 hours and 30 minutes, set national age group records, and is still running and fueling his body with Perform at age 75. I recommend you give Perform a try. It's 3 times more effective on a gram-for-gram basis than any protein source. The AminoCo is giving our listeners 30% off all AminoCo products, including Perform. You can check out their science by visiting aminoco.com/genius. use coupon code GENIUS for a 30% discount at checkout.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
You've been listening to the Finding Genius podcast with Richard Jacobs. If you like what you hear, be sure to review and subscribe to the Finding Genius podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And want to be smarter than everybody else? Become a premium member at findinggeniuspodcast.com. This podcast is for information only. No advice of any kind is being given. Any action you take or don't take as a result of listening is your sole responsibility. Consult professionals when advice is needed.